Hi, Math Studies. This is exercise 9F on page 397, number 4. Determine which of these are tautologies, which are contradictions, and which are neither. We're going to go through one at a time. And first, I need my formula sheet. Okay, so I've got that here. And now I make a truth table. Let's start with A. Okay, so we have P and not P. So we can look at these two lines here, or we could write them out, P and not P, so that they're side by side. We can see them better. So we have true, true, false, false, and false, false, true, true. Okay, now we want to combine these together. So P or not P. P or not P, or both. It's the inclusive disjunction. So we are going to look at this column here for the inclusive disjunction. Okay, so the first one says true, false. So that would be this one here, true, false. So that is true. Second one, true, false. So same thing, true. Third one, false, true. That is this one here, false. Nope, I'm sorry. False, true. That's false. And the last one, true, true. Oh, I'm sorry, that's supposed to be a false. There we go. So, false, true is this bottom one here again, so that's false. Okay, so we come up with this truth table, and this is our final statement. It's not a tautology because there's not all true values. It's not a contradiction because there's not all false values. So this one we're going to say is neither. Okay, that's part A. Okay, part C. We can make our truth table P, and that's the only one we need. If we want to look at it next to another P as well, because we have to combine these, you can make the two truth tables next to each other. So it'd be true, true, false, false, true, true, false, false. Okay, so then my first step is inside the parentheses, P and P. And we're looking at the and column here, so that's this one. And we're pretending that the second statement here for P is actually like Q. So this would be like a Q. So we're looking at then these two columns. So our first one will be true, true. So if they're both true, then this one is also true. Okay, our second one is true, true again. So that's also true. Our third one is false, false, which here is false, false is false. And same again, false, false is false. Okay, so we end up with this final statement, true, true, false, false. This is not a tautology because they're not all true. It's not a contradiction because they're not all false. So we are going to say it is also neither. Okay. The next one sorry, that was C, not B. Okay, now we'll do B. Okay, for B, we have P and not P. So let's put those side by side, P and not P. From our truth table above, P is true, true, false, false. And not P is false, false, true, true. Okay. So then our statement is the AND statement. So we want to look at this column. And we're pretending that this is for P and Q. So this would be like our Q statement here. Okay, so we make our table P and not P. Okay, our first one is true, false. So we have true, false is false. Again, true, false is false. And then we have false, true. That's here. False, true is false. Oops. And false, true is false. Okay. So this is our final statement. False, 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 false. Because they are all F, this is a contradiction. If I can write it with this. Okay, so contradiction is this one. Means this statement can never be true. Problem D. We need P and Q and not P and not Q. So let's make the truth table for those. P, Q, not P, and not Q. So P and Q, we have true, true, false, false. Q is true, false, true, false. Not P would be false, false, true, true. And not Q is false, true, false, true. Okay, so our first part is to combine P or Q. Okay, and we want to use this column here for P and Q. So the first statement is true, true. If they're both true, then this is true. And we can actually just copy this column right down because our arguments are the same as in the on the formula sheet. We're using the same two columns, P and Q. If you want me to explain that in more detail, I can in another video. Then our next one is not P and not Q. So for not P, not Q, I'm going to use this AND column. I'm just going to erase these for right now too. So the AND column with P and Q. And instead of P and Q, we're saying that this one is not P and this one is not Q. Okay, so we're looking at, undo this highlighting here. We're looking at these two first, not P and not Q. So false, false will be false. False, true will be false. True, false will be false. and true, true will be true. Okay, then our final statement is to combine these into an OR. So P or Q, or not P and not Q. Sorry, it's a little sloppy. Okay, so then we're looking at the OR statement. So I'm still looking at looking at this column here, the OR statement, where this statement here is P and this statement here is Q. Okay, so my first one is true, false. So if I have a true, false, that's true. And then I have a true, false again, so that's true. True, false again is true. And false, true is true. Okay, so my final statement is true, 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 true. Therefore, this is a tautology. Okay, next we will look at part E. So we are going to need a truth table with P, Q, not P, and not Q. So first P and Q, true, true, false, false, and true, false, true, false. Then not P, false, false, true, true, and not Q, false, true, false, true. Remember, these are just opposite of Q. Not Q is the opposite. So if Q says true, not Q says false. Okay, then the next part is combining P or not Q. So we're going to look at the OR column, that's this one here. Now the arguments here are for P and Q, so we are pretending that this is like the argument Q in our table. And we're looking at these values over here. We have P true, not Q false. So we're looking at a true-false combination. That is true. Next one, we're looking at a true-true combination. That is true. Next, a false-false combination is false. And finally, a false-true combination is true. Okay. Next part of this statement is not P and Q. So we want to look at the column for and, which is this one. And again, that's referring to P and Q. So this would be like argument P and Q is like Q. Okay. Let's use a different color here. So now we have not P, false, and Q, true. We're thinking about these backwards. So false, true is false. Then not P, false, Q, false. So false, false is false. Then true, true is true. And finally, not P, true, Q, false. So true, false is false. Okay, then the last part of this problem is to combine them together with the OR. So P or not Q or not P and Q. Okay, so now we're looking at the OR column again, and P and Q, where this is our argument P and this is our argument Q. Okay, so we're looking at our first combination here. Let's go with a different color. True, false. So look here, true, false is true. So put a true there. True, false again, true. False, true is true. And true, false again is also true. So this is a tautology, if I can write it. Okay, next we're going to do problem F. So we've got a few arguments here. P, not Q, and not P. Those are the ones that we need. So we can start off with P, true, true, false, false. I'm sure you guys are getting sick of writing T and F. Not Q would be the opposite of Q. So if we look at this table here, we can just write the opposite of that. So false, true, false, true. And then the not P is opposite of P. So false, false, true, true. Okay, and then we need to start combining them. So P or not Q. So this is an OR. So we're going to look at this column here for P and Q, where this is P and this would be like Q. Okay, so true for P, false for not Q. Okay, so true, false is true. Our next combination is true, true. True, true is true. Next combination, false, false is false. And final combination, false, true is true. Okay, next part, not P and not Q. I apologize for the sloppy writing. I'm trying to use one of those touch pens and it's difficult. Okay, so now we are looking at the AND column. So that would be this one with P and Q, where this is our P statement and this is our Q statement. Okay, so first one, not P, false, not Q, false. So false, false is false. Next one, remember this not P is first. False, true. False, true is false. Not P, true, not Q, false. So true, false is false. And finally, true, true is true. Okay, and then we need to put these statements together. P or not Q and not P and not Q. Okay, so we're still going to be using the AND statement here for P and Q, where this is like P and this is like Q. Okay, so we're looking at these two columns now here. So first combination, we have true, false. So true, false is false. Next we have true, false again, so that's still false. And then we have false, false. So here false, false is false. And finally, true, true. True, true, come on, is true. So this is my final statement, false, 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 true. It's not a tautology because it's not all true. It's not a contradiction because it's not all false. It is neither. Kind of looks like the word neither. Okay, there we go. Okay, next problem is problem G. We're going to make a truth table. We need P, Q, and not P. Those are the three kind of inside statements that I see there. So again, P, true, true, false, false. Q, true, false, true, false. And then not P is the opposite of P, so false, false, true, true. Okay, then we're going to combine them. So not P or Q. So we are going to look at the OR column, which is this one here for P and Q. And my statement P is actually this one here. So this is going to be like P and then Q is Q. So first one we have is false, true. Remember we're saying not P first. So false, true is true. Then we have false, false is false. And true, true is true. And finally, let's see, true, false. It's true, false, because not P is first. True, false is true. Okay, next one is P and Q. So now we're taking a look at the AND statement, which is this column for P and Q. And we can actually just copy this column right down because it is the same argument for P and Q. So it's true, false, false, false. Okay, so then let's combine these statements together now. So we have not P and Q and P and Q. Okay, so we're looking at the AND column again, and this will be our statement P, and this will be our statement Q. Okay. So first argument is true, true. So true, true is true. Second one is false, false. False, false is false. Already we can see that this is not going to be a tautology or a contradiction, so it's neither. True, false. True, false is false. And again, true, false is false. So because they're not all T's or not all F's, our final answer is neither. Okay, last problem is problem H. So we're going to make a truth table with P, Q, not P, and not Q, because those are the elements that I see here in this problem. So let's start with that. We can copy P and Q from right above, true, true, false, false, like it always is. And true, false, true, false. And then not P is opposite of P, so false, false, true, true. And not Q is opposite of Q, so false, true, false, true. Okay, then we can start combining these. The first one is P and Q, which we can again just copy from our table because that's the same argument as our table in the same order. So we're looking at P and Q right here. So true, false, false, false. Okay. And then the next one is not P and not Q. Ooh, let's try that again. Not Q. Okay. So now we're still looking at the AND symbol, but this is like P and this is like Q in our columns up here. So our first one, false, false, would be like this one here. So that's false. Our second one, false, true, is like this one here. So that's false. Our third one, true, false, is like this. So that's false. And our last one, true, true, is like this one. So it's true. Okay. And now we will combine these statements together. So P and Q and not P and not Q. Okay. So now we're still looking at the AND column. Let me just reset this though. So we're looking at this column and P and Q in this situation are, this statement here is P and this statement here is Q. So if we look at first line, true, false, P and Q is true, not P and not Q is false. So true, false should be false, sorry. false, false is false. False, false again is false. And false, true is false. So we ended up with a whole column of false. That means it is a contradiction, which I know I'm going to have trouble writing. But you get the idea. It's a contradiction. All right. Thank you very much for paying attention. Good job on your homework.